Welcome to Master the Game. I am Juice, and this is episode 3 of RPG Power Hour. Now, today is a very special episode because today we are going to be showing you the interview we did with Palladium Books' Kevin Siembieda and Sean Roberson. Now, in this interview, it went great. However, the video did get choppy, so you're not going to see the video, unfortunately. I wish I could give that to you because there were some nice little things you could see here and there. There was even a moment where Sean kind of gave Kevin a look that I got a big kick out of, and I think a lot of you Palladium Books fans would have got a kick out of. But with that, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. And just to give you an example of one of the things I mentioned early on in the video from one of our sponsors, Into the AM, this is one of the shirts. You can see it's got some crazy colors. It is a super soft shirt. This is obviously one of the most comfortable shirts I own, like I stated in the video. That is not an understatement. I don't say that lightly. These are really high quality shirts. You will see in the video some of the shirts that they offer because I'm going to insert a clip there while I was talking in the interview. So with that, guys, enjoy this interview. If you have any questions about TMNT and this upcoming Kickstarter that's going on as of today through the end of the month here in November, then feel free to ask. I can try to get your answers for you if I do not know them. So, and look forward to more interviews with Palladium Books in the future. With that, enjoy. I am here with Kevin, for me, the godfather of gaming, the guy who got me into it in the mid-90s. So this is a great pleasure. This is the first time Kevin's been on the channel. It's not the first time I've talked to him, but it is the first time he's graced our presence on this channel. So this means a lot to me. So thank you, Kevin. Sean has been on the channel before. This is his second time on the channel, I believe. So again, it's awesome to have him on, and I know I've seen him in the chat before on other streams. So thank you again for joining us. But before I get into it and start talking about them, I want to quickly thank our sponsor tonight, other than Palladium Books and TMNT's Kickstarter coming up. I want to say thank you to Into the AM, who is a recent brand endorsement for the channel. If you are interested in checking out their amazing apparel, first of all, it is extremely high quality, very soft, probably the softest t-shirts I have ever owned in my life. You need to go check them out. Everything is of the utmost high quality. Everything is done with vibrant colors and very wild designs. As you can see from this, I've got a skull with a sword through it, which is great for gamers. It kind of fits the Palladium aesthetic very well. So I just wanted to quickly state that. Use MTG10 for 10% off, and I do get a very small commission on those sales. So the link will be in the description below. Now, with that, Kevin, first of all, I want to say thank you again. This means a lot to have you on the channel. I want to really get this started by asking you specifically about the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles IP that you guys received back in the 80s, before we get into the other goodies. So what was it that provoked that? Obviously, we didn't have the cartoon. We didn't have the movies yet. What provoked that?
So first of all, I want to say thank you for having us on. It's our pleasure to be here. And as far as what sparked, the TMNT RPG is I was a comic book guy. And in fact, for like the first 15 years of Palladium Books, I kept thinking Palladium was only temporary until I broke into comics. And, I wanted to be a comic book artist and writer, and then just fell in love with, doing role-playing games, and it took off, and the rest is history. But so I had heard about the TMNT black and white comic book. Kevin and Peter, they originally designed it just sort of as a one-shot fun thing. They were sitting around and said, we should do a comic book based on all the things that are so popular right now. And that was Frank Miller's Daredevil, the X-Men, that's teenagers and ninjas and mutants, and they just kind of threw it together as this fun thing and printed like 3,000 copies. So it was hard to get a hold of issue number 1. And even the reprints would sell super quick. I don't think they get enough credit for really kind of launching them and a couple other comic books, launching the independent comic book industry. But yeah. Turtles became such an instant hit. Anyways, I found issue number 2 at my local comic book store and had just finished reading it when I said to my wife, man, this would make a great role-playing game, especially if they would let us expand it to include any kind of mutant animal. And then, like, magically, 2 minutes later, the phone rings and it's some freelance writer saying, have you seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? I think it would make a great role-playing game. I think it'd be perfect as a supplement to Heroes Unlimited. And I'm like, no, I think it should be its own game, but, ties into Heroes Unlimited. And, so we talked about it. I let him take a stab at writing it, and that didn't work out. But the whole time that he was working on it, Eric Wojcik and I were talking about what should be in the game, and how he would do it, how I would do it, the key elements. And so when the other manuscript came in and fell flat, I was able to bring Eric in to help me out on it. In fact, that's kind of a funny story, because originally Eric was like, yeah, Kev, I'll just write the character creation. And I'm like, okay. And then it's like, yeah, Kev, let me do the animal powers. And I'm like, okay. Kev, I got ideas for, and the next thing he wrote 90% of the book. I mean, we discussed everything. We worked out the game mechanics together, but boom, we had that book done. And I had already had Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, doing the art. That's something I don't think a lot of people realize is, we were both small, young startup companies. So I obviously said, man, I love your stuff. You should do the art for this book. And they were like, sure, that'd be great. and so they did an original, I think it's a 12-page comic strip that appeared for the first time anywheres in the original RPG, and hasn't appeared too often anywhere else since then. Yeah. They did all the art for the RPG. They did a lot of the art for the various source books that we're collecting, as did other people from Arise Studios like Jim Lawson. So it was awesome. And when we were just a couple, a trio of young guys, so we hit it off really quick, and it'd be fun just calling Kev and calling Pete and chit-chatting about what's in the next issue, and this is what we're thinking for our next RPG. Do you guys have time to do the artwork? It was pretty wild. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Speaking of which, Eric, one of the things that I think is the best thing about TMNT, especially in the Palladium universe, is the innovation of bio E-points, which I think is a brilliant concept. And I think it's really well done. Obviously, the original has some imbalances, but for the time, I think it's groundbreaking, and I think it's one of the greatest things in an RPG like this. Who came up with that idea, and how much working with that? Like, how long did it take you guys to fully come up with that?
So it was Eric's idea, and I loved it. Like you said, it worked so well. It made total sense. One of our design philosophies, Eric's and mine and Sean's, is for stuff to make sense and feel plausible and be intuitive. Yeah. And it just felt so intuitive, and it just worked so well. Again, it was the kind of thing where, as this other guy was working on his manuscript, Eric would grab these ideas and just kind of run with them, and we would talk about how it should be done and this and that. So by the time that Eric stepped in to do it, I think it was pretty much done in his head. And he banged the whole book out in 4.5 weeks.
Jeez, that's quick. Insanity. That's very.
Now, those are long 10 and 12 and probably 15-hour days. I know. Sure. We would talk for 2-3 hours a day. 5-6 times a day. He'd call me up and, Kev, what do you think of this? What about that? And animals. Because I am kind of an animal guy. So he would, bounce ideas off me, and we'd go back and forth. And then the whole thing was turned in. I kind of tweaked and, stuff here and there. But
one of the things I think is important to point out too is that Kevin really wanted it to be a game where you could play any mutant animals. You create all types of mutant animals. And that was I've seen the original manuscript. Kevin still has it. It has other problems, but the major flaw was that it was focused around playing the turtles.
Right.
And some people do that, but most players don't. Most players I mean, that's one of the really infectious, exciting parts about any
Yeah.
Palladium role-playing game is creating the characters, whether it's Nightbane or Rifts or Heroes
Yeah.
Unlimited. And the same goes for Turtles, and it stood the test of time. As I'm doing the updating pass, I mean, this is just really solid stuff. Sure, we can tweak some numbers here and there, but for I mean, for a game that was so groundbreaking with such a groundbreaking concept, it really was solid. So
Yeah.
that's one of the really neat things that I think has it's not just cashing in on an IP. It's the idea that Kevin had on how to make sure that it would be something that people could return to over and over again.
Yeah. Speaking of creating your own characters, so about 2015, when I was I had started a group on Facebook called the Tabletop RPG One Shot Group. It started as an idea. A bunch of us couldn't go to Gen Con. We did a live stream, about 8 of us talking. We were all like, man, it would be so, and some of us were Palladium guys. We'd be like, it would be so cool if some of us could get other people to try our game, and in return, we'll try whatever game they want to play. And it for me, I pitched the idea because I couldn't find a lot of Palladium people, right? I had to resort to online and through Google Hangouts at the time. And so someone was like, yeah, that'd be cool. Someone should create like a Facebook group for this. And after 2 days, nobody in this conversation did it, right? So I just said, screw it, I'm doing this thing. Within 4 months, we had like 3,000 to 4,000 people in this Facebook group.
Wow.
I think it's still around today. Through drama and other things, I let it go at one point and gave it to a couple other people that, I didn't agree with how they ran it. And, so I'm no longer affiliated if it's a thing anymore. But when this was going on, I remember I had got like quite a few people, a couple guys out in Jackson, Michigan, me and a guy that lives in Australia. All these people, we're getting a bunch of people playing Palladium Books. And one of the games we played was TMNT. I still have my character in this book, and my character's name was Grinder, not to be confused with the app. Do not check it out, people. He was a coyote auto mechanic, and where kind of had a cut and things like that. And I remember my DM for it, my friend Andrew at the time. He ran it, and we ran very loose, a lot of player agency. And so he said there's like these trash cans that are like bent and stuff. And I imagined like, well, is there a way to use it as a ramp to chase these guys and just start bouncing across the roofs of these buildings on my motorcycle? He's like, you know what? Let's roll for it. And so obviously we did it. And so I just had this scene, but it used to be streamed on YouTube. It's no longer up because the channel that streamed it got taken down. But actually, he took it down just over time. But one of my favorite things was playing this damn character. And I had like amazing memories of like backhanding someone at like a concert with this character, and just some great stuff where I was taking no shit from anybody. And it would not be possible if it was not for this dang game right here. And I'm excited to recreate that experience in the future. So just wanted to throw that out there.
That's awesome.
But yeah. So with all this, again, BioE, great. I noticed you guys had the IP for what, a decade at least?
At least, yep.
It started in 85, is that correct?
Yep.
And then
Yep.
it ended in 95-ish?
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Okay, so I had gotten into Palladium around 96 or 97. I think the first book I owned was either TMNT. It was given to me by a friend of the family who had played Rifts, and he was really trying to get me into Rifts. Him and his wife would attend the pool in our apartment complex, but he convinced me to go buy the revised Heroes Unlimited, and he gave me his revised TMNT, and I still have it to this day. Great memories playing Rifts and things like that. But bringing this back, what happened to make you guys step away from the IP? Was it your guys' choice? Was it a financial thing? Why did we lose the TMNT IP?
Yeah, it was both our choice and financial. So
Sure.
when Turtles came out, the original comic was grittier.
Yeah.
And more of a traditional superhero comic book. And when the cartoons came out and the movie launched and the toy line came out from Playmate Toys, it kind of kidified the game. So they went from being really cool to being kid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And our primary
That's around when I got into it, by the way. It was the action figures in the cartoon and the original movie. So
That's actually what got me into Ninja Turtles and was a nice segue into Palladium Books, actually.
But you were more of the exception than the rule. So
Oh, I'm sure.
a lot of 12, 15, 16, 18-year-olds didn't want to play the equivalent of Mickey Mouse.
Right.
So we saw sales that had, gone sky high. I mean, we sold a ton of these books before the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then with anticipation of the movie, I mean, our sales just soared. And after the movie and the cartoons and the toys hit, the sales just plummeted. And so we felt like we weren't really doing, the game line justice, and we just let it go. I honestly wish I had kept it because we would have just kept nursing it along. But and in '95, that cover to Rifter 9, I think it is, with the TMNT by Simon Beasley, we were planning on relaunching the game, and just decided that it probably really wasn't worth doing, and so we just let the license go. And then, went on big time and, got bought up by Paramount and Nickelodeon. And so, and that's why we didn't get it back for a long time, because we were like, well, now it's really expensive to get.
Yeah. It became really popular.
Yeah.
So you had said like the Mickey Mouseification of it. Do you believe it was like maybe the TMNT market was oversaturated in the 90s with so much stuff, or what do you think it was that kind of halted it? Because, like you said, you had a bunch of sales leading up to the movie and stuff.
I think it was just very much that, come on, you hear about peer pressure all the time. Just, when was the last time you even thought about playing Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck or Bugs Bunny? I mean, probably never.
Right.
And so when the Turtles became for little kids, and let's face it, the cartoon and the toys were all marketed for
6-year-olds,
8-year-olds.
Yeah.
Most teenagers went, man, I got to look cool. I can't play this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
that makes sense. Yeah.
It was as simple as that.
Well, I think too, and I think it because I was a kid at the time.
Me too.
Right. So I think that there was a disconnect between the presentation in the role-playing game and
sure.
the cartoon audience, right? But then the hardcore comic audience was like, we're moving on from that. That's not for us anymore. And I think that for me personally, that's one of the things that I got lucky. My dad's best friend, he gave me a copy of the early graphic novel collections. And that my 10-year-old self was like, this is so cool and violent,
Yep.
It's like the Ninja Turtles, but they're murdering people, and
right.
I loved it. And then one of my friends was like, hey, you like those comics? You probably like this RPG that I picked up, and I not really into it, and I was like, because he wasn't like a role player, and he knew that I liked BattleTech, and I'd played D&D.
So Robotech.
And so yeah, he was like, hey, would you so this is like my copy of it's the first RPG I personally ever owned, and so I ran that with my cousins and my friends, and I became a Palladium guy, and here we are. That set that course for me, but yeah, I think that that was part of it is that disconnect is there too. And so it makes sense why the sales would fall off.
Yeah.
You are connecting with that audience that is really excited about the property.
I'm not saying it was totally dead either. I mean, obviously comic book fans are still playing it, and plenty of role players like yourself and like Sean. It's just, the sales went, lower than what, we thought were.
Well, you had other big things to shepherd too.
Rifts was bigger than ever.
Rifts and Robotech.
Yep. No, that makes sense. I mean, you got to weigh the pros and cons, keeping certain things around and paying for
what a lot of people don't realize is that a typical license by most companies is 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And at that point we had it for 10 years. That's a heck of a long time. And we just thought it was kind of played out and let it go. So, I mean, ironically, I still stayed in contact with Mirage Studios and, but and use some other artists for some of my other books. But we just kind of felt like, it's time to let TMNT go.
Right. No, that makes sense. So this is the first time you've gotten it back since the mid-90s. How did that come about? Did this even before I get into that, I guess I should say, obviously you guys were featured on Netflix, or at least interviewed for Netflix's show, The Toys That Made Us, when they talked about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And that was what, 3 years ago ish?
Something like that. Yep.
First of all, how did that come about? And did that lead to what we are experiencing now with the TMNT Kickstarter and you getting the IP back?
Yeah, I think just, let's face it, TMNT is right up there with G.I. Joe and Barbie as far as a perennial toy. So it was the producer's idea to do, a feature on TMNT, which was one of their most popular ones, by the way. And they involved me because I was sort of the guy who connected Kevin Pete with the gentleman who went on to take it into the mass market. So they wanted to have me on the show. And it's ironic because, my segment's like 20 seconds. And
I saw it and I was like, it's Kevin. That's the guy who got me into RPGs. I pointed out to my wife and she's like, oh, okay, yeah. Like, because she remembers when we played Riffs at the library in like Westland or Wayne or something.
Yeah.
And she kind of met you there, but you were kind of busy running the fantasy game and we went and played.
Oh,
Riffs.
yeah. Okay.
But,
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I saw you and I was like, oh, it's him. And then I pointed out to my kids because I got 3 kids and they're like, I don't know who that is, but okay, cool.
So yeah, it's funny because they videotaped me for 2 hours and said it was one of the best interviews they ever had. Of course, the guy was a gaming nerd, which was cool, and they asked all kinds of really great questions. But 2 hours boiled down to 20 seconds.
Yeah.
But such is Hollywood, right? But no, so I played like a pivotal role. I mean, theoretically, there might not be the Turtles as we know them today if I didn't make that introduction to Kevin and Peter with Mark Friedman, who then took it and, turned it into, with the boys, they all turned it into this phenom.
Yeah. And,
it's pretty awesome. So yeah, it's kind of wild to be part of this history, even if it's not a particularly well-known my participation, but yeah, it's awesome. And it had nothing to do with this, I don't think. Although possibly in 2015, Nickelodeon had reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to relaunch the game. And at the time, we were dealing with other stuff, and I said, I don't think I have the time or resources to do it justice.
Yeah.
So I said, I'll pass, but I'd like to leave that window open. And then we thought about it again in like 2018. And pass on it again. And then it's always been in the back of my head because I love the Turtles and I love Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. I always say, and I think in every interview so far, that their success could not happen to 2 nicer human beings. Yeah. I mean, they're just great people, sweethearts, and care about their fans and care about their work, and great guys all the way around.
Yeah, Kevin Eastman, I can say I've met him. We've done video calls and emailed, and he's awesome. So
yeah, no, he really is. And but so when I brought Sean in to become my business partner, and the guy who, eventually when I retire, Sean's going to be the guy who's taking over the company. People don't panic. I have no intention of retiring.
Keep them around as long as we can. Yeah.
Look, Kevin has not aged in 40. If you've never seen Kevin has not aged in like 30 or 40 years. He will be around when the rifts actually happen. So you don't have to worry about it.
Well, we got like a dozen books that he's already told the fans about that we need him to write. So
well, there you go.
Trying to keep him around as long as I can.
Yeah, I got millions of ideas. That's for sure. So
don't watch any more movies, Kevin. Just stop watching movies. Quit getting inspiration and just start writing.
No more new ideas.
Thanks.
We're gonna ball and chain you to your desk and you're
wrap it off. Tie it off. That's it.
I already am. You want to see it? Yeah. But so
I see you read our newsletters. We've joked about that. Yeah.
But one of the first words out of Sean's mouth after he came here from Texas, moved here.
Actually, it's the day after you called me.
It probably was. And he's like, so Kev, have you ever thought about bringing back TMNT? And I'm like, yes, of course. And so once Sean got settled in, the pandemic kind of came to an end, and he was like, yeah, Kev.
Well, I've recovered from COVID myself.
Yeah, he had it twice.
Oof.
Clobbered them both.
The second
times.
time was brutal.
Yeah.
I have not had it, thank God. I had like pneumonia and all sorts of stuff last year, but no COVID, thank God.
Yeah, I was out of commission for 3 months, and then I had a good 8 months of long COVID. It was really brutal. But anyways, but once I was coming out of that, and we felt like things were picking up, and we were getting our feet underneath us with a lot of things that we have a plan for updating and going into the future for Palladium Books, and we'd like to say this is our solid step 2.
Yeah. No, we got all kinds of. I mean, if you guys knew we had,
how many steps are there?
Can't reveal.
There, it's a 5-step plan.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I remember you saying that to me last time. You're like, it's a 5-step plan.
Yeah, I'm like not kidding. We have like a 5-step plan.
I love it.
From the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program that Kevin went through when I first got here. But anyways, and it didn't. The step 2 didn't have to be turtles.
Yeah,
but it's really great with turtles. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. So we reached out to them, and in fact, it was ironic because I reached out to my old contact at Nickelodeon, and since Viacom bought them up, she wasn't there anymore. So I'm like, oh crap, because I had a really good relationship with her, and I thought, oh man, but we finally came upon the people we're working with now, and they're awesome, and they're fans of the turtles themselves, which is nice because when you get involved with corporations, you tend to think that they're all about the money, and they're just this, they don't give a shit about the fans, and that's definitely not the case here.
In fact, they've gone to great lengths to make sure that we can do right by the fans and do things that the fans are going to be excited about.
That's good.
So that's been exciting, and then it's been amazing because once we got the green light to move forward,
only took 9 months.
We did
of negotiation.
That's quick though. That's quick for an IP.
It is, and we've had a really great time reconnecting with Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, and meeting a ton of new to me, to be working with artists and writers. It's fantastic. I mean, I had given Freddie Williams one of his first jobs was working for Palladium, and again, it's been great reconnecting with Freddie. He's done all kinds of great stuff, including the 2 covers. Kevin Eastman floored me when we're talking, via email, and he's like, "Oh yeah, and I want to do a new painted cover," and I'm like, "Yeah, you sure? Oh yeah, but you're so busy." He's like, "No, I want to do this," and I'm like, "Okay, thank you."
He's been awesome.
Meeting Sophie Campbell, I've been a fan of her work because I followed TMNT comic book. And she's amazing. We've met various colorists and artists, and it's just been, my comic book roots. I always enjoy working with comic book people. And these guys haven't disappointed. They're just awesome.
So talented. The other thing I'll say is it surprised us. Like Sophie is a big Palladium Books fan and is in a running game every week. That she runs, and of course Freddie is big with Riffs and Palladium Books
and Heroes Unlimited.
Unlimited. And so it was so funny when they were like, "Hey, we've got this guy with this one artist we want to introduce you to. He's one of the top people we want to introduce you to first. It's Freddie Williams.
You've heard of him?
I don't know if
he's worked with us."
We're like laughing. And so he's been awesome to work with, such a big fan. But we've just been surprised how many of the artists are influenced by the RPG and have played it or have, Kevin Eastman said that every time he goes to conventions, he has multiple people coming up with the role-playing game books for him to sign. Still to this day. And the book's been out of print for like what? 2.5, 3 decades. So I mean, it's kind of nuts when you think about it. So it's been a really, really neat experience.
It's been a wild ride.
We can't wait to show off a lot more stuff that is all going through approvals.
We're going to blow people's minds with this, what Sean's calling the Redux editions. So basically we're going to be collecting the RPG and source books into two beautiful hardcovers. The first one will have the RPG, Turtles Go Hollywood, and Truckin' Turtles. And then the second hardcover will have Transdimensional TMNT, TMNT Adventures, and
TMNT Guide to the Universe.
TMNT Guide to the Universe.
Yep.
Those are hard books to get right now too. Like when they go online, some of them are well over $100. Like,
and this one, if it's mint, is like $250 or more.
Yeah,
especially if it's the original.
Yeah,
as opposed to the revised.
Yeah. So we and we wanted to bring all that back. So this is there's nothing that we're leaving out. This is all the TMNT specific stuff is coming back in these two full color hardcovers, remastered from the original back in the day. If your viewers can remember it or imagine it, if it was before their time, Kevin used typewriters. Kevin and Eric Wujcik used typewriters to create the game, and they would get art and then they would paste it on boards and send it to a printer. So we have those original boards. We have high resolution scans of them. We've engaged an archival book company to take those text scans and turn them into almost legible text. It's been a challenge for me to deal with, but it's a lot of fun. If anyone's familiar with what we did with the Titan Robotics Kickstarter and the Cyborgs collection, we are bringing everything back. The illustrations are sharper than ever because of advances in scanning and printing technology. Back in the day, they couldn't print grayscale. That's why everything was black and white, or you'd have that duo shade. Cross-hatching and stuff. Right. So and all the art's coming back in full color.
Spectacular full color. In fact, those who, when you see the color cover, the same artist has done most of the color inside
as well as the cover.
The same artist who painted the cover, and we want this to be a premium product. We love Turtles so much, and it's, for me, not only is it a tribute to Kevin and Peter and the Turtle fans, but also Eric Wujcik.
Yeah.
And I want this to be spectacular. So in addition to all the original stuff, re-edited, retypeset, cleaned up, colorized, we're having bonus material that will include the making of, behind the scenes stuff, never before seen concept art and pencil art. Plus we've got 24 at this stage artists that are known throughout the RPG and comic book industry, like Sophie, like Freddie, like Kevin Eastman, and a slew of others, Stephen Cummings, David Peterson, Jim Lawson. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of people that we have doing these full page
pinup.
And they're gorgeous. I mean, they're they're amazing.
They're all pros.
Yeah.
And again, some people ask about, is this a new? Well, we're calling it the Redux edition because it's not all reimagining or anything. We really want to reissue the classic game that Eric put together that's beloved by so many people. It's one of the number one questions we get asked constantly is, when are you bringing back the original? We love Eric Wujcik's games, right? We love these characters. We love that. So we're bringing that back, and there is a light editing pass that I'm doing. There are some clarifications and some extra things, some little bits and bobs that we're adding to make things smoother for modern gamers to use. But in general, it's we want to stay true to the classic.
Can you elaborate on the bits and bobs, as you say, what that entails?
Well, some of it's typesetting, graphic type stuff, like changing headlines and fonts and.
Okay, so no actual stat block changes of any of the.
Well, a little bit. Like for instance, it's gonna be actions per round, instead of attacks per melee.
Okay.
Things like that we are adding some clear movement rules.
Okay.
For use.
So there are slight things, but it's not
a lot of quality of life. I mean, but it's not. It's funny because that's a big addition to some people.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
it's nothing that a lot of game masters haven't house ruled before, right?
But it's going to have the same feel that you played in the
right.
90s.
Exactly. I'm doing some streamlining with the paired weapons rules, just because almost no one plays it correctly, which means that maybe we need to update that. People have it's but 2 generations later now, and so it's time we're thinking, hey, let's make sure that this is easy for everyone to use when they pick it up. But again, it's really important for me and Kevin that we stay true to Eric Wujcik's original creation and vision, without we're trying to find that nice middle point. So again, that's why we're calling it a Redux edition. Is that we just feel like this is kind of like the director's cut. What can you do if you had all the resources in the world and all the people involved and all the modern technology and printing abilities? I mean, it's going to be a gorgeous book, and we're offering a lot of things along with it, like custom dice and miniatures, that I think a lot of people would be really excited for as well.
Yeah, I heard that was mentioned elsewhere, that you guys have, various dice like the ooze and, shredder dice and things, and like that. Can you talk more about the dice and maybe just all the other things this entails outside of the book that will be included maybe in the Kickstarter?
Sure.
Yeah. I'm let's see, where do I start? So we're working with Fan Roll. We're really excited to be working with Fan Roll. For people who aren't familiar with them, they do a lot of popular dice sets and bags and accessories and stuff like that. And so we have a set of custom dice for each one of the turtles. One thing is we did talk to Paramount, and we decided together that we did want to do 4-color masks, since most fans are familiar with that. It is a little bit different than the original depiction, like just on the cover, where they had the red masks. But
it changed anyway with the IP, like not too
it's
long
really
after
changed,
all that,
but that's about the only major change that we have here, I would say, as far as depictions from the original early Mirage comics. But it changed very early on in the Mirage comics as well. And so that we have a set of dice for each one of the turtles that comes in and these are all plans. We just got this license and immediately announced the Kickstarter. We had a lot of things brewing in the background, but when we were finalizing the contract, that was one of the things that took a little more time, was getting the license to do dice or to do miniatures. And so a lot of these things that I'm about to talk about, they may change before final launch or whatever. Or they're in the approvals process, right? So some details could shift. And the other thing to understand for fans is that these are going to be, the vast majority will be Kickstarter exclusive. And that's how we were able to work out that deal, to make sure that these things could happen. So just understand that if you help us back this Kickstarter, it helps us build a great relationship, and who knows what could be possible in the future. But for this Kickstarter, these things are all going to be Kickstarter exclusive. So there's 4 sets of dice, one for each of the turtles. There's also a 5th set of dice. Those are resin. And then there's a 5th set of dice that is shredder. They're aluminum plated with a maroon color to the pips. The top number on each die has like a weapon, the cross weapons, or the weapon of the turtles. And then we also have a dice tray and tower. And I think we're going to have a really cool looking dice scroll mat that rolls up like a tube, and it looks like, when it's rolled up, it looks like a TCRI. So
that's cool.
They told us that it's possible, so I threw out a crazy idea, and they were like, "Yeah, we can do it." And so I'm just hoping that that's true.
That's awesome.
And we let's see, we are also talking about and those will be Kickstarter exclusive.
A GM screen, I heard at some point.
A GM screen, the GM screen, and we're also looking at doing mutagen dice, which would hopefully be liquid filled. Those 2 would be something that wouldn't be, besides the core 2 books, that are not going to be Kickstarter exclusive. So those will be available after the Kickstarter. But that's because we're doing those with a separate manufacturer. And then we also have 2 sets of miniatures, heroes and villains. And they're about 8 miniatures each. The heroes, it's got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, as well as Casey Jones and a couple of TCRI Utrom aliens in their robot bodies. And the villain set has the Terror Bears, the 4 Terror Bears,
Nice.
Doc Farrell's assistants, Igor and Carl, and then a couple
Shredder,
of Shredder,
Foot.
a couple of Foot.
Yeah.
So we're very excited about those, and we have some stretch goals associated with those. The big one that we are talking to people about, which was we're very excited to get the permission to do, is we have Fugitoid is going to be a stretch goal. So if we hit the stretch goal, Fugitoid will be added to the Heroes set, as well as we'll be adding his stat lines and information expanded in the books. That come to print. So that's what's one of the things I'm really excited about. I like Fugitoids.
And those are unpainted miniatures, correct?
Those are unpainted miniatures, correct. Now, and we're talking to our manufacturers right now. We're still not sure yet if they're going to be exactly plastic or resin. Those get very technical, which one is which, because they're actually really close sometimes with some of the new processes. Yeah. But they could be gray, or they might be base colored, like say green for the turtles. And,
cool.
We're still getting information like that, because this was one of those things that was a later development in the negotiation process. So we're still getting some of the final details on that from our printing and manufacturing partners.
That's awesome.
And then there's going to be a couple of print sets.
Yes, a couple of print sets.
There's going to be a poker deck.
Oh yeah, 54 card poker deck. With the turtles, because I like it. It's people ask about the deck. Is that like an action deck or something special that has? No, it's a poker card deck because I like doing stuff like that.
Heck, if you play Savage Worlds and Savage Rifts, you can use your deck and your poker chips for that.
You could. And the other thing is, when we did the deck of cards, for the Cyberworks deck for Titan Robotics, a lot of fans were really blown away at the high quality of the deck. So we are aiming to do the same high quality of production that these are going to be professional level poker cards. I don't think you could take them to a gambling den and you can't
take it down to MGM in Detroit and sling some cards.
But they're really sharp cards, and so we're really excited to do that again. It's just one of those things that I enjoy. And then what was there? Was there anything else?
Yes, the black, white, and red edition of the book.
Yes. So one of the things that was suggested early on by our wonderful friends at Paramount, and I was talking to a few select friends, and Kevin was talking to some friends. And people that we trust, because we had to keep. I don't know how we kept it under wraps for 9 months. Yeah, but somehow the word did not get out. And means we can trust the people we trust.
So was this around January? You guys started getting this going?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh
yeah. So and it was a lot of stuff. We had mock-ups and of the colorization, what it would look like, and the remastered layout, and all types of stuff.
And then getting certain Grancel rights took time. And that's where it was really great working with them, because they could have just said, you can't do miniatures. No, you can't do this. No,
you can't sell through distributors. No,
and instead it was like, hey, let us look into all this stuff for you. And
it was really
they've been really great licensing partners so far.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, the black, white, and red edition is going to be. I mean, if viewers are not familiar, I'm not a huge comic book guy. I'm more of I'd say I'm a comics light. I'm a graphic novel guy. Yeah. The successful stuff I find in the graphic novel and enjoy it later. But Kevin turned me on to the black, white, and red comics that are out there, where you'll have comics where they're just black and white with red highlights and additions. Mm-hmm. Kind of like the original Turtles cover was black and white with some red on it for the comic. Well, with this, we're doing the same kind of thing, where the book is black, white with red for the bandanas, maybe splashes of blood, or Shredder's uniform or something, and stuff like that. Sunset. Yeah. But it'll be the remastered versions of the books, but in black and white, for the fans that want something akin to that the old school feel from the original that was all black and white. Cool. And so we felt like that was a great way to hit that kind of middle point for a lot of fans, and put something out there that is the red bandanas and harkens back to the original books. And then of course we have no Palladium Books offering would be finished without having a faux leather collector's foil stamped
Nice.
hardcover edition. And these books are all hardcover, but this is going to be something similar to like the collectible Rifts.
We're calling it our Mutagen Green edition.
So,
and here's the cool thing about it. The cover art, and it'll be more detailed than this, will be new art by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird.
yes,
That's cool.
So we're really excited about that because, we understand Peter's, moved on, semi-retired, and is enjoying his life, living his best life, and that's awesome. But apparently, when we heard that, when he heard through the grapevine what we were doing, he was really excited to get involved. Yeah. So,
so are there 4 variations of books? Are you still doing the soft cover too?
No, we're not doing soft cover,
hardcover.
But there are 4 variations. Okay. And the reason is, we didn't expect Kevin Eastman to offer to paint a new cover.
Yeah.
So we're going to have an alternate cover of the core book, TMNT and Other Strangeness collection. And then the second book, because it combines Transdimensional, Guide to the Universe, and TMNT Adventures, we're calling that TMNT Transdimensional Adventures collection. And that one has an alternate cover by Sophie Campbell, the current working on the current IDW comics.
And all the covers are
they're all beautiful.
Kick-ass.
So
when do we get to see them? When do we get to see the mock-ups?
We're putting them out there in marketing and advertising as soon as they're getting approved. We think we'll have most of them ready for launch on next Tuesday to show to the public. So that's an ongoing process because, like I said, this is an opportunity we had and we dove on it, and it's one of those things. It's mind over matter, make it happen kind of thing. So
yeah, it's coming up quick. Very quick.
Tell us about it.
Like I was like, oh yeah, we're meeting today. I'm gonna have all this time to like edit this, and then I was like, oh crap, I got like 5 days. Shoot.
No, you and me both, man. No, one of the good things is we got Mike Majestic working. Very early on
our main color artist.
Who, if you've seen the art for the new for the cover of the first book that's out there, then that's he's the guy that did that.
That's the pink background.
So you're seeing a slice of the full cover art. We'll get you a file with the full cover book mock-up, with the logo and treatment and stuff. So you can use that for your channel. But I don't have a printout or anything. It's a beaut. That's like if you were looking at like
just that middle
portion of the. It's an homage of this piece. It's out the same basic layout,
right?
And title treatment, very modern. And when you see that cover, that's going to be your signal of that's what they mean by updated. It's definitely an homage, but it's also doing some new cool stuff.
It's for those who are familiar with it, it's everything you would expect it to be and more. Mm-hmm. And for people who have only heard about the game and have never played it, but it sounds cool, it's going to just be this beautiful game product that they can buy and play with any age group, really.
Oh yeah, I mean, I played it when I was 10. I had someone ask, they're like, "Can you pick this up? Is this something that anyone can figure out?" I'm like, "Well, I did when I was 10, and
I was 12."
Yeah, I mean,
and I hated reading at 12 years old.
And I ran. I have great memories. I just remember I had so much fun running the Turtles Go Hollywood adventure, and that's going to be bundled in that first book, right, with the core game. And so for new fans, it's very approachable, and for older fans, between the I mean, it's just it's hard to describe. The art's gorgeous, the full color editions. Plus all the quality of life improvements in the Redux edition and the remaster, we're trying to make sure that there's something for everyone to enjoy here. It's not just sloppy reprint or anything like that. This is truly a new edition.
And I just want to remind people who want to play it with younger kids, look, the adult has got to be the game master. So mom, dad, Uncle Bob, it's you design the scenarios, tweak them, make them suitable for whatever age group the kids are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The adventures are written nothing hits even PG-13, I don't think. So
sure.
I mean, if you don't need, it's a difference of, do you describe ropey bowels, coming out of some Foot Clan soldier or not when you get a critical hit.
I play
You know,
RPGs with my kids. My 12-year-old daughter, the first time we played, she was 7. She did not want to do a lot of the RP in town. She wanted to go kill stuff and save the boy from the nasty prison. That's what she wanted to do. She wanted to be the savior. So, like, you can tailor games however you want. Like, I mean,
Exactly.
Yeah.
you know, whether you
And
want
this-
it to be puzzles and whatever, I think it
There's-
goes without saying. So
Yeah, and this has a little bit of psychic abilities in it, and
Yeah.
there's some magic in the expansion material in the second book. But
Yeah.
in general, this is Palladium Books at its Palladium Games at their finest, where the Palladium RPG, you have your combat, you have your skill checks, and you go have adventures and you have fun.
Yeah.
And
And you get to create all kinds of awesome mutant animal characters.
Yep.
Yeah.
But also one of the things that we have been asked a little bit is, are there vehicle combat rules? Well, yes. In the Guide to the Universe, there's vehicular combat rules for spacecraft and hovercraft and stuff like
Nice.
that, as well as rules for building those. So there's a lot in this collection. It's over
Yeah.
going to be over 500 pages of material. So
Speaking of
300.
like the content matter, like for
Two
kids
bucks.
and stuff.
You're right.
256.
Yeah, yeah.
We're
So-
averaging 256
Yeah.
on each one.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Speaking of like the content matter for kids, I want to point something out that's in this RPG and not in all other RPGs. Palladium Books, their XP system rewards saving people and not always just killing whatever you see.
yes,
You know, being creative to solve issues is a fundamental mechanic for leveling up and getting XP. So that's something to put out there as well.
yeah, it's you don't need to kill the monster, you just need to solve the problem, right?
Exactly.
So if you help the monster move into a new house
right.
so he's not eating people on the road,
Right.
you know, whatever, right? That's the cool thing
Get
about
him
it.
food because the reason he's stealing food is because he doesn't have any. Like there's ways
Right.
to solve it without
Right.
killing it. Yeah.
Exactly. So no, that's one of the things that it's one of those things that I think is really ahead of its time for Palladium, and it's still very ahead of its time for a lot of systems. So
Correct.
it's becoming a more modern conceit, but it's always there with Palladium.
Yeah.
So with the layout of the books and stuff, so you're saying like you're fitting multiple books in one. When
Yes.
you're going through the book, does it feel like, okay, the first quarter is, you know, the original other Strangeness book, then it's this book, then that book? Or do you kind of have it mixed in throughout the book?
No, it does feel that way.
Okay.
And we haven't made final decision on a couple of the transitions, but
Mhm.
for instance, with the Cyborgs collection, if that's around,
Yeah.
one of the things that I did with this one, because it collects the original Rift Source Book 1 revised,
Mhm.
Source Book 2 Mechanoids, and the
Sumerian,
Sumerian Nation, along with some stuff from Rift's Aftermath and some extra new material. One of the things that I did was, as you go through, you'll see the cover of the original book, as well as a condensed title page and dedication,
Okay.
which normally isn't on one page like that.
Yeah.
So you can it's kind of like a history lesson when you break into that new book. You
Right.
see that new cover art, or I should say the classic cover art, right? Not the new ones, and title and dedication and stuff like that. So you can see very clearly who was involved with creating
Yeah.
that original work. Yeah, that's the approach that I've taken, and we're planning on doing that. I mean, all this, of course, is subject to approval by Paramount, and
And it all makes sense because you got the rules, and then you've got here's adventure material, more adventure material, and then here's the making of
yeah,
Right.
so it's kind of like
and
big,
bonus material.
big chapters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that makes sense.
It should be thought of as chapters, yeah.
And a lot of people will ask this. It is going to include. We've been doing this. It's been very popular. But some fans haven't, heard what Palladium's been doing over the past year and a half, 2 years. But it's going to have a full index at the back of the book.
Nice.
In both books, so that you'll be able to easily go to that and find what you need inside the book if that's something that floats your boat. As well as at the beginning of the book, a new title or table of contents and stuff like that. One thing we do want to mention with these books is that there will not be digital versions, PDFs of these. These are physical only, and
That's only because the license doesn't cover it, though, correct? Didn't you? I think you had said in another interview that the reason
Right, it's
was
not-
because
yeah,
your
that's- we did
license
not-
doesn't cover that.
right. It's
Doesn't cover
it's a
digital.
licensing thing.
Mhm.
Right. It was a licensing decision. So with these classic book reissues, there will not be any PDFs. So that's something to remember. After the Kickstarter is over, you'll still be able to get the 2 core books and the primary covers. You'll be able to get. We're looking at doing the black, white, and red edition after the Kickstarter as well.
Okay.
There'll be the mutagen green dice in whatever format they
That's so cool.
end up in.
And that's going to be liquid inside of the dice.
That's
right?
what I'm hoping.
That's
That's
I
what
love that. I've seen dice like that at my shop. So
yeah, I mean, we just have to work with our manufacturers to make sure it's something that we can sell wholesale on the to distributors and retailers. But and then the Game Master screen. But the fan roll dice sets and trays and towers and scroll
and the miniatures,
the poker card deck,
the prints,
the poster or posters. Well, it'll be at least one poster. I believe.
So there will be posters. I was going to ask about that.
At least one.
Yeah.
Right now, what is that one going to consist of? Like the cover of the book, or
yeah, that was the current plan. Was the cover of the new new core book.
I might have to copy one of those.
and then of course and then the alternate covers by Kevin Eastman and Sophie Campbell, and then the foil mutagen green foil cover editions by Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird art.
Yeah, those are all exclusives, but again, as long as you bid or pledge appropriately, you can upgrade your pledges and buy additional product through the backer kit phase for a couple of months.
Yes. So one of the big things is get in while you can on the Kickstarter. If you're a Kickstarter backer at any level, you can upgrade your pledge later. So we just encourage everyone to jump in, get in on the Kickstarter. If hey, I can't get all this other stuff I want to get, you're going to have some time while we're finishing the production, collecting all the remembrances and all the new art from the different artists that we've engaged with, and then getting that stuff to the printer and back. But I will also say that we are doing our best to hold the line on the cover price. But the cheapest you are going to get it by a decent factor is going to be on the Kickstarter, even if you just want the basic stuff. So definitely get on the Kickstarter. Is my suggestion, and you'll get the best deals possible.
Okay. Will there be any opportunities for autographed posters, hardcovers by more than just Palladium staff, like maybe Eastman, Laird, Sophie, any of them?
We don't know yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's been suggested. We're talking about it.
We're thinking
the logistics can be a little tough.
Yeah, sure. and honestly, we don't know how explosive this may be. I mean, everyone we talk to goes crazy over all this.
Yeah.
So it's it's easy to do if you're signing 1,000 books or even 5,000 books, but
that takes like a week.
Yeah. No,
but then you got to get it to these people wherever they are, and then so
you got it
quite a bit. Yeah,
and if it's bigger than that, it's going to be logistically.
They're heavy books too. Shipping won't be cheap.
Pretty impossible. So,
but that's been one suggestion that has come in, and so we're going to definitely take that feedback and reach out and see what we can do about that, because I don't know, maybe that's a stretch goal. If we hit
a framed poster signed by everybody involved would be really cool.
Yeah, but I think that'd be really, really hard to do.
I get that.
It's
if we have anything signed, it'd probably be the books themselves.
Yeah,
is what I'm guessing. The mutagen green editions or something.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Okay. But in fact, I should say right now, I mean,
as of right now, no.
But right now, the answer is no. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Besides me and besides the Palladium staff.
I would rather you not commit to something than say, we're gonna do.
No, absolutely. But we like the suggestion.
Yeah.
It's just the logistics and the exact numbers. We'll have to.
Nope, that makes sense.
A lot of these guys are so busy. We're talking top professionals.
Yes.
And
yes.
And do I even want to bother Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird and say, "Hi, would you sign 1,000 copies of something?"
Right.
Trust me, we signed gazillions of books for our Christmas surprise package, which we're happy to do.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot more time than people might think. We spent like virtually all of last Sunday signing freaking books in preparation.
Hey, I never asked for autographs in my surprise package.
We're happy to do it.
Go ahead.
I'd
rather get it in person myself, so I associate it with the experience of talk and
That's cool too. That's cool too. But for some of our fans, they're not in Michigan. They're in the UK or
well, I had to go to
South
Indiana the one time.
So, but yeah, so that's one of those things we're just, there's some of those things we're not sure about. But
okay.
Thanks for the feedback, though. We're definitely
just an idea. I'm one of those people. I get ideas all the time, but ideas are not worth anything. So not without execution.
You're right. It's execution, right?
Yep. So that brings me to the next part. So obviously the Kickstarter is going to fund and it's going to do amazing. We already know this, because it's you guys and it's also TMNT. But afterwards, do you guys have any plans down the line or hopes down the line to do anything more with TMNT, expanding on it at all?
Well, that thought has definitely crossed our mind, but we have a strict policy that we no longer talk about any projects that aren't in imminent production, preparing for release.
I saw the look, Sean. I'm sure a lot of Palladium fans saw the look. I saw Kevin go. No, I appreciate that as well. So right now, maybe. That's a great answer, and we'll just stick with that and move on to the next. So something I had seen, and I'm not going to get into the details of who or anything like that because I don't want to give somebody a platform that already is using what little platform they have to say negative things. But they did bring up something that made me think of a question, and that was, why is Palladium using a Kickstarter to fund the TMNT project? Maybe you can elaborate on some of the good reasons as to why it, helps you guys reach goals and do more for the fans or something along, whatever.
Sure. I think that anyone that asked that question doesn't understand our industry. Because I've worked with top professionals throughout the industry, and had these discussions with them at conventions. And I don't want to, no point in name dropping, but I do know some people. And the Kickstarter is, if you're not, the bull in the china shop of WotC, or almost all RPG publishers do Kickstarters, and there's a couple of reasons why. Who's Kickstarter for? Well, some people have weird perceptions about how large or small Palladium Books or other RPG publishers are.
You guys are not in your mom's basement. Like, let's put this out there. You guys have a warehouse in Michigan. You're not working from home necessarily. You can,
but
you have a headquarters.
We have a headquarters, but at the same time, you compare us to, like, say, a car dealership,
right?
And how much money a successful car dealership can make, and suddenly we're a small business, right? So we're not corporate, is the way I'll put it, and we aren't corporate when we're not owned by anyone else, right? It's me and Kevin.
We're not WotC. We're not like the equivalent of a video game company,
right?
We don't have a staff of hundreds.
Nope.
But you do have a staff that you're putting food on a table for, and it's important you take care of them.
But the other thing is it's unparalleled for marketing and promotional capacities. Like, one of the things I say that is for printing books, for instance, or printing anything, the more you print, you get a break on the price. So a Kickstarter allows us to very clearly measure how much we need to go to with a print run. And for something like TMNT, we really don't know. The other thing is getting the word out is half the problem. Right.
Kickstarter helps with that too.
Right. If it just started showing up in stores, there'd be people that didn't know it existed for 5-6 years. And by then it might be out of print again. Right. So that's another huge thing about Kickstarter. Also, with those quantities that we can guarantee, that's how you get things like like, if anyone has Palladium's first couple of card decks, there's a couple of Rifts card decks, and then you compare it to the Cyborgs deck, you're going to see that because of the way we were able to send in for a larger quantity of cards, we could upgrade the quality of the cards. While maintaining a solid price point. So that's part of the game. If
we do a color book versus a black and white book?
This is it. How can we do a hardcover? How production numbers.
How can we offer miniatures? So first of all, we couldn't offer miniatures at all. if we weren't doing the Kickstarter.
Right.
You know, there's
So
a
in
lot
other words,
of
it
nice.
benefits the people who
or,
want
or the
these
collector's
things.
editions, right?
Yep.
And so the other thing is it's just it's getting those quantities down, it's getting the word out, and it's helping us to have really sharp numbers that we can come to when we get the production runs done. And that's a big part of the Kickstarter. But another part is just it's also a lot of fun. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one way that we can really gauge what customers want. We can really interact with customers. So I've done a Kickstarter for all of my major releases with other companies and with Palladium, and it's always been a really positive experience.
Well, and it's funny because there's always a certain amount of hype and excitement over a Kickstarter that you don't get with just a release.
Yep.
And even with all that hype and excitement, time and time again, like when we did the Titan Robotics, we'll have someone who's like a super fan, someone I've known for 20 years will come, visit, and they're like, when did that come out? There was a Kickstarter. This was a Kickstarter exclusive. And it's like,
so yeah, I mean, I just read an article the other day. I believe it's Paizo, but one of the major publishers, their 256-page full color hardcover books are going to be going up to $69.99. And you're going to be getting in at the $50 level for the same page count, full color hardcover, high quality. So that's how we can try and still compete with some of the bigger fish in the pond.
Right.
And we have the same, we don't get a price break because we're a smaller company.
Right. No, it gets worse.
Right. So yeah, I mean, so we're trying to build in as much quality as we can.
Yeah.
And the Kickstarter is part of how we do that. And again, when you back our Kickstarter, that helps the algorithm. The algorithm then shows the Kickstarter to more people, which makes it more successful, which means we have more resources to do cooler stuff in the future. Right.
Yep.
So that's, and that's why part of the reason why the Titan Robotics Kickstarter was big, was proving that we could do that and nail the delivery and super high quality with actually an expanded 32 extra pages that's beyond what we originally quoted in the Kickstarter and other bonuses. So yeah, that's some of the great stuff that can come out of a Kickstarter.
Yeah. When it comes down to it, Kickstarter's just good business. It's smart. Like without it, you're talking about a really small print run. And like Sean was saying, $70, $80 books. And, because they're probably going to be spending $50 per book just to get it back. So, on a really small print run. Otherwise, they're fronting a lot of money and sitting on a lot of inventory. And you don't want them just.
Yeah, there's all types of storage,
so many
inventory,
things.
shipping. There's so many things, right? So, no, we're really excited about this. And we just know that that's the way it's going to be the biggest thing that it can be is through the Kickstarter. So, and if you go look at other companies in the industry, even very, 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 what people would say more corporate, bigger, successful ones, that, have a lot of modern.
Hasbro does it all the time with other projects.
Right. Exactly. It's no one bigger than Hasbro.
Yeah. They have their own crowdfunding site for doing this. They did it with Hero Quest and, other things. So,
so
some of the comments that were in the original thing that I'm citing were very ignorant and it bothered me. So
it's okay. People don't understand the business side of it, but I hope that those people, can hear this or if you hear someone saying that, chat them up a little bit and let them know, look, we're trying to run the sharpest business we can. We're trying to make sure that we can give everybody the coolest products possible, and again, black, white, and red edition. That's cool. Even if you wouldn't like it, someone else might. Yeah. Right. And that stuff like that is again only possible because of the Kickstarter. So
and there are a lot of Palladium collectors out there. A lot.
And I want to say what Sean said when we're fans of role playing and the Turtles and comic books, and we're just fanboy geeks ourselves. So through a Kickstarter, you can do things that we know is going to delight other fans, like the poker deck and the dice towers and the dice and all kinds of little things that we couldn't normally do except through the Kickstarter for a variety of reasons.
One core fact that a lot of people don't understand is that when you sell through to distributors, you're usually selling at really cut prices, right?
Yeah.
So it's the numbers aren't always what they appear to be.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And speaking of passion, like all you need is 10 minutes in a room with Kevin, and you know he is just oozing passion. So there's no question about it. I've talked to a lot of people in the industry, and I don't know if anyone's passion for this is at the level of Kevin's. I mean, it's just, you can see it even in this conversation today. So,
Well, I love what I do,
oh, for sure.
I'll tell you, one of the coolest experiences I've had on this project was when we were just talking to Kevin Eastman and hearing Kevin talk about how he met the licensing agent, and then hearing Kevin Eastman's his side of the story when he met the licensing agent, and it was just really fun. You could tell that they were old friends, and we're catching up after years of not chatting, and it's just been a really great experience, and really made me realize that role playing has impacted so many people.
Yeah.
We've got some tributes and dedications by not just role-playing game or comic book artists and writers, but we have some people involved in the movie industry as well that have told us they're writing tributes. So I think people might be surprised with some of the stuff they see in the books, and who's been influenced by Kevin and his storytelling and world building.
Oh yeah, over the years, like I've heard so many stories about Kevin speaking to video game companies, for example, and many other things that I would love to dive into today, but I think we should save some of those for future episodes, because today I'd love to keep it on TMNT. But Kevin, if he did not have so many books to write for Palladium Books, I think he would have an amazing book that he could write just about his own life and all of these experiences. Maybe he could get a ghostwriter for that one day, but it would be really cool to see all of the different stories that Kevin has and the people he's interacted with. So,
we've actually chatted about that before, so
it would be cool. I would read it. Biographies are one of my favorite things to read. So, Kevin, you might know this. I've always wondered, was Palladium Books the first to license TMNT, or one of the first? Do you know roughly where?
I can assure you we were one of the first. According to Kevin and Peter, Palladium Books was the second company to license Turtles. I contend we were the first, because the second company was Dark Horse Miniatures.
Oh, okay.
And I think what happened was
the miniatures came out.
We were the first license, but the miniatures came out before the book did, and so in their memories, and I could be wrong. I mean, maybe
Sure.
Dark Horse leaped out at them and said, "Hey, do this," but I don't think so.
Yeah, he called them when issue 2 came out.
Yeah,
that's pretty early.
Yeah, was that like 2 months after the first one came out? Like
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. I always thought that, because I've always told people, I was like, I think this is the first thing that came out after the comic books, or was the first thing, that they agreed to. So
yeah,
that's a nice little feather in the cap, even if it is the second. First is the worst, second is the best, and third's the one in the polka dotted dress. I remember that from elementary school. So that's a nice little feather though. So that was a thing that I've been wondering for years, and I've always meant to ask you, and every time I talk to you, for some reason it never comes up. I always end up talking about Heroes Unlimited instead of TMNT. So,
well, in the early days, because the comic really took off, and then our game came out so quickly after, and it really took off. There were a lot of people who thought that the game came out first, that I created the Ninja Turtles. In the early days,
right.
I was always saying, no, there's a comic book by these two guys, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird.
Yeah.
I
remember showing people my RPG and people arguing with me. That's not right. That's some off-brand ripoff. Look, they're all wearing red bandanas. And I'm like, no, moron. You've just only watched the cartoons and movies. So I used to always try to educate people. And I remember people were like, you're lying. Oh, it was this huge thing in middle school. No, I think that's awesome. So obviously TMNT is a big part of, this whole thing. Heroes Unlimited obviously came out first. Now, I don't remember the original book. I only have a revised version. Did the original book also have bio points, or like because I know this one has, some stuff about it. What was in the original one about animals and and stuff.
No,
like that?
we had all kinds of different mutant animal, all kinds. We had mutants and aliens and robots and everything you can think of. Hence the name Heroes Unlimited.
Mhm.
But no, BioE was first appeared in TMNT. It was designed specifically to create mutant animals.
Okay.
And then we added it in later editions when we expanded Heroes Unlimited.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
'cause I always wondered that because I was like, Heroes came out first. I have the revised book, and it kind of talks about it. Yeah, it talks about it in the revised. I was like, oh, it's totally in here too. So I always wondered that, and I think you guys obviously answered it earlier, but yeah. Is there, switching off of TMNT a little bit, and since we're in Heroes territory, are there plans? Well, again, I know you don't want to talk about things that aren't said, but how far down the pecking order might Heroes Unlimited be in upcoming projects?
Oh,
Not very far.
no, I mean, so one thing that we want to point out to a lot of fans is we do have a project status page, which we probably need to update since like Titan Robotics and
Turtles
and
isn't even
Sloth.
on it.
Turtles isn't on it, well, because it was a secret project.
Yeah.
We didn't know.
Yeah.
We're so, and then Yin Sloth Jungles came out, but we, right now we're currently focused on, besides Turtles, which is mostly my project, with Kevin helping to wrangle all types of crazy stuff right now.
Yeah.
But once that dies down, he'll be right back to Yin Sloth Expeditions and Rich Bestiary too.
Yep.
But and so will I. But this is a little bit of a detour, fortuitous targeted opportunity.
Yep.
But otherwise, we the one thing I can say, besides going and looking at that project status page, which has like what's in development, what's coming up next, what's on hold, what's been officially canceled, and when. Some people just missed that something got canceled 25 years ago, because they didn't see the Rifter or whatever, right? That's fine. But just so you know, and like come to grips with it and accept it in your heart. But it's tough for people. But the other thing is, I'll say, is that we consider, Rifts, Heroes Unlimited, Palladium Fantasy, those are our top three.
Yeah.
And then we also Beyond the Supernatural is close behind that. And we
Dead Rain and some other stuff.
Well, Dead Rain, Nightbane, of course, are important. But the top five would be those plus, Rifts, Palladium Fantasy, Heroes Unlimited, plus I would say Beyond Supernatural and Phase World as IPs, I guess you'd say.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, obviously, Rifts is the head honcho. It's what keeps the lights on. I get that. In fact, everybody knows Rifts. Not everybody is like, oh yeah, I know of Dead Rain or whatever. Like Rifts is a staple in the RPG community.
Sure, and but at the same time, I mean, for us, Heroes Unlimited and Palladium Fantasy here are just up at that same level of importance. Massive fan bases, lots of love, lots of stuff we want to do with them.
Palladium Fantasy is awesome too. I remember I used to play with a guy out in Livonia, and he had a group of like 12 people, which I know, Kevin, that sounds great to you. That sounds a little small of a group. For me, it's chaotic. Yeah, like we were sitting in a living room, and like, I don't know, it was just too much for me. And it was an apartment. It's just too much for me. But it was a lot of fun. I have some great memories of that Palladium Fantasy campaign, and breaking out of the Balgor Wastelands as a prisoner, and some great stuff. But the other thing, so back to TMNT real quick before we kind of wrap up. The last real question I actually have for you guys is, so the Kickstarter starts October 31st. I'm assuming it's about 30 days. Is that correct?
It's 4 weeks, so it'll end on November 28th, this Tuesday.
Okay, perfect. When do you foresee the actual release? Obviously, there's, who knows, based on stretch goals, all sorts of stuff. But when do you foresee this possibly being in the hands of backers?
So I would say our target time frame is going to be September next year. Now, we'd like to be earlier than that.
Sure.
But because of production and the fact that some of this stuff, I mean, we just got the license, right? So the miniatures are being sculpted. right now.
And that's almost the 40-year anniversary, correct?
Exactly.
Yes,
so
next year's the
that's
40th.
one of the
Yep.
things that we in Paramount are really excited about, is that this will be on the shelves in time for that. Now, of course, we'd love to have the stuff before that.
Yeah.
But we're trying to make sure that we have a very safe timeline.
Yeah, we don't want to overpromise.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's important. Sometimes, over-promising, under-delivering can really get people's panties in a bunch, and I get that. It makes complete sense to me. But
yeah, and it's one of the things I will say is, like with Titan Robotics, we projected June. We had some our printer that we were working with for 40 years. Kevin been working with them for 40 years. We sent them the stuff to be printed, and then they were bought by a conglomerate like 2 weeks into it. And we would literally get a call. I don't know if I'll have a job tomorrow, or from our rep. I don't know if I'll have a job tomorrow. We don't know what's happening. So there was a lot of printing delays with that one. And so, we were able to deliver still in mid-July.
Yeah.
So it was like 2 weeks late. But
That's
the funny thing is people are like, oh, they were late on delivering it. And it's like, we communicate every step of the way. The vast majority of fans are really cool and understood
communication's key. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I put out all the updates every time we had any hard data. I put out updates for the fans.
Yeah.
We'll continue to do so. And so, if you want a track record of that, go check out the Titan Robotics Kickstarter. But with this, so because of that, we're being a little bit more conservative.
Yeah.
Even in our estimations. Before, we thought we had a good buffer, and then literally almost the unthinkable happened. 40-year-old company gone, and immediately there were issues, and so and delays. So we're doing everything we can to make sure that this goes smoothly as possible, but hope everybody can understand that we're going to be conservative in it, because that's part of the trick of, we're offering all these really cool things, and part of that is this is these are new things.
Right.
We've done some good miniatures before. We haven't done dice before. We've done a poker deck before. We've done game master screens before. But there's some of these little things, and we're working with really great partners who are top industry people.
Yeah.
So that's great for the sculpting and the miniature production,
And the printing.
and the printing, and everything. So, but with that in mind, we're just trying to be very conservative on the delivery date.
Yeah, obviously, if we can ship in July, we'll ship in July.
Yeah.
It's as soon as
I would rather hear, oh, hey, we got it all done in May. Here you go. Like, oh, nice surprise. I'd rather hear
that's how we're approaching it too.
That's how we're approaching it. Yeah, exactly. So, and
awesome.
like I said, the remaster stuff is 256 pages, 2 books that we're doing remasters, and we have Kevin Eastman is digging into his archives, and a lot of that will need to be scanned.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this is stuff that only exists in the physical world right now.
Yeah.
And so we're taking a lot of this stuff and bringing it up, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's not sexy to say that, but guess what? It's a lot of work. And I know that because,
you're the one working on it.
Wayne and I did a lot of did that. Wayne did the remaster of Rift Sourcebook 1 revised. And then I did the other 2 books and combined it into the Cyborgs collection. He had some pinch hitting that he helped me out with that on as well. And but it was
baseball reference for you guys
It was
sitting at home. World Series baseball reference for you guys.
So,
are you a Rangers fan, by the way? You're from Texas, aren't you?
I don't care anything about sports.
Okay, just checking. I'm a big sports fan.
I am from Texas, but I don't. Rangers, they're cool, right? I mean, Houston Rockets, yeah, sure. I just don't care.
Go Lions!
Yeah,
hell yeah! Look, this is Detroit now. You got to embrace, Detroit here.
Do I?
You do. It's the time.
I've
because
got a Texas
now
flag
we're
in my office for a reason. So no. I will say I do really love it up here in Michigan.
Yeah.
And
say that. Tell me that in January and February.
Oh, I've been through it. Yeah. No, I mean,
I know you.
Hey, it's not as bad as it's not as. I lived in Denver for a year. Through a Denver winter, and I've also been through some winters on the East Coast out at Fort Meade when I was in the Air Force. So. It ain't bad.
Southeast Michigan does not get bad snow. On this side of the state, oh my gosh, we get lake effect snow and feet of snow. It's awful, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not so bad. I mean, it's, I do want to, I used to have a truck. I do want a 4-wheel drive truck again, just because I hate it when I can't drive.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're stuck, you're like, oh, my car's too low.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's great. I love the Four Seasons out here. Overall, it's been a good move.
It's beautiful.
So coming up here to join Kevin. So yeah, but no, again, thanks for all the cool chats.
I love it. I could talk to you guys for hours. I literally just spend all day chatting.
Well, this is, for me, everything's coming full circle from this was the first game I played, and my inner child's doing backflips, getting to work with really, and the other thing is, it's cool when, I remember when I first met Kevin, I was like, oh, he's pretty cool. I mean, I've been working with him on the Riffs for Savage Worlds stuff, and as a licensee, talking to the licensor, but then I met him at Gen Con, and we really got along, and and then I got to meet Kevin Eastman. I'm like, oh, he's really cool. So it's really neat to be working with so many people that are passionate about the TMNT, but also TMNT and other Strangeness, and what Palladium and Eric Wujcik and Kevin Siembieda brought to the whole genre.
Yeah.
And helped create a whole genre of mutant animals and
pioneers, man. Pioneers of the
absolutely.
genre.
So that's, again, this is really a passion project for us, and not just like some corporate move. Again, we're not corporate. So
I should ask. So with the TMNT, what percentage of the editing would you say is complete? I know it's tough because
it's hard to answer.
Yeah.
It's well along, but I can't really say exactly what percentage, because some of it's going to be really easy to format, like the adventure material,
and then you still need the art, which will change layout, right?
Well, and what we have, so one of the things I will say, so that's where it's like, because the art is integral, and some of this art, kind of like with it's more subtle with Yinsloth Jungles and the Cyberworks collection, but if you go do a 1-for-1 comparison to the original books, you'll know that some of the art is, it appears a lot more clean, a lot more detailed because of modern printing technology and the high quality scans that we have now from the original paste up boards. The art is presented larger or bleeding off the edge of the page. And the same kind of thing is happening with this. So and I would say the vast bulk, about 2/3 or so of the art has been, because there's so much art in this original book. But the majority of the art has been colored. And so and that's and I've gotten a long way through the editing and piecing that in. So it's pretty far along. We kind of cheated up on this one before the contracts were signed. The contract was signed. We were already working hard and pedaling hard. So
nice.
But that the layout, and then there's going to be I'm going to do another editing pass and make we're going to make sure this is really clean, smooth and clean. There's already been lots of
we want this to be as
text
perfect,
corrections,
as perfect as possible. We want people, when they get these books, we want them to be truly precious and have them go, oh, this is everything I ever wanted it to be,
I don't know if you've ever, if you maybe even if you've written a paper, it's like a book in miniature, right? So if you write a paper, you're done writing the paper, but are you? Because you the second and third draft is where usually the magic happens, right? And anyone who does writing, graphic design, a lot of it's iteration, and I call it elbow grease. That goes into taking something and really polishing it to a shine.
Well, look, here's a great example. I mean, we get this beautiful cover. We get the logo done, and it's rock solid logo. But then we spent like another 3 or 4 days tweaking it and trying different, colors, different font styles. It's
some very subtle stuff, but it's working with like
it's just the logo, but it took days before we all sat back and went, yep, this is the one.
And then we and our counterparts at Paramount were like, okay, is super solid. Let's move forward. And now, and that, you know, that's coming out, and we'll get that to you so you can get that graphic as well.
Sounds good. You got 5 days. Not even.
Oh,
I'll send you an email in just a minute with it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to end the stream or the video. I want to say thank you guys for joining me. If there's anything else you guys would like to say, feel free. We'll start with you, Kevin. Let you say anything you want to say.
I don't know. I feel like we said pretty much everything. Just, please, everyone, spread the word. And, we appreciate your support. If you can back this project on any level, that'd be great. A lot of the Kickstarter exclusives aren't just gimmicks. They really are just available through the Kickstarter. So if you see stuff you really want and love, or you're buying it for someone who will love it, definitely snag those exclusives, because they're not going to be made available mass market.
Yeah, there's no bait and switch here.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the dice alone should get some people to back it. I mean, it sounds like you're gonna have some really cool dice.
Oh, it looks really cool. We can't wait to show it off.
I'm excited about it. And then the scroll for the dice mat sounds kind of cool just to have on your shelf, but what do I know? I mean, I'm just a TMNT and Palladium fan, so
Right.
So there you have it. That was my interview with Kevin and Sean. Sorry about it cutting off at the very end. We just kind of talked really briefly about, thanking them for coming on and things like that. But what do you guys think? Are you excited about the TMNT Kickstarter? I know I am. I will be backing it. I hope you guys are too. There's going to be some cool covers. I don't know if I'm going to do all 4 covers or not. I feel like the mutagen dice will be kind of cool, and some of the other things. So I do plan on backing it, but let me know in the comments if you plan on backing it and at what level. The link is in the description. Head on over there, support the Kickstarter, support Palladium Books. Also, I believe we mentioned it a little bit in the interview, but right now Palladium Books does have their Christmas grab bags. That is over $100 in value for $60. Go fill out the form and you will get a bunch of Palladium goodies in your mailbox within a couple weeks. So I will probably be doing one of those this year too, maybe 2. I think the most I ever did in 1 year was like 6 or 7. That was one of my first YouTube videos. I actually opened it, got a lot of Palladium Fantasy that year. A lot of those books I have lost over time, unfortunately. So I need to recoup some of those books back. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. This is Master of the Game. I am Juice. Game on.